Welcome, gentlemen. Some people talk endlessly. Others simply walk in, and you can feel them before they even say a word. There's a certain kind of man who doesn't need noise to be noticed. You might not even see him coming, but when he's near, the entire atmosphere shifts. Not because he's trying to dominate, not because he's seeking a spotlight, but because his energy speaks louder than anything he could ever say. That's the Sigma male. He carries a silent, almost spiritual weight, one that unsettles the fake and comforts the real. This isn't about playing mysterious or acting detached. It's not a gimmick. It's the result of deep inner alignment, forged in solitude. A Sigma male spends time alone, not to isolate himself, but to truly know himself. And that level of self-awareness radiates in every room he steps into. Here's where it gets deeper. True Sigma energy is spiritual in nature. It's the same centered calm described by ancient philosophers and mystics. The kind of presence that doesn't just shift the air around you but raises it. Ask yourself this. When was the last time you walked into a room and felt like you brought light with you rather than needing it from others? Drop your answer in the comments, because that awareness is the first step toward mastering it. You may not understand him immediately, but you feel him. His presence carries unspoken truths. He's not here to impress. He's not performing. His path has been carved through struggle, clarity, and independence, and people can sense it, even if they can't explain how. Some are drawn to it instinctively. Others feel threatened. But nobody ever truly ignores it. So if this resonates with you, stop doubting the quiet power you carry. You were never meant to blend in. You were built to lead silently, to influence without trying, to challenge without saying a word. That energy you have, it's not a mystery. It's mastery, born from lessons learned in the dark while nobody was watching. Never question the way you shift a room. They feel you long before you speak. Let's begin. 1. His energy doesn't seek attention, it reveals truth. Some people enter a room and immediately scramble to be noticed. They talk louder. They flash symbols of success. They'll do anything to be seen. But the Sigma male, he does none of that. He doesn't have to. His presence alone is enough to shake things up. Not because he's trying to stand out, but because he's deeply rooted in who he is. And when someone is that grounded, everyone else starts to feel the weight of their own performance. You see, his energy isn't loud. It's clear. It carries a stillness that makes people look inward, even without a single word. Standing next to someone that real can feel like standing in front of a mirror that exposes what's hidden. The masks people wear to fit in, to be admired, to feel safe, they suddenly feel too tight. That's unsettling, because when you're used to being surrounded by others who are also playing roles, someone who refuses to play any role at all forces you to confront how much of your life has been performance. He doesn't shame you for it. He's not judging. His calm is born from radical self-honesty. And that kind of honesty pulls the truth out of others, ready or not. People feel it in subtle ways. They hesitate before lying. They fidget when they exaggerate. They stumble over words because deep down they know. This man doesn't buy into the surface-level story. He listens through the noise. He sees past the facade. And that's the Sigma effect. He doesn't compete for the center of attention. He naturally becomes the center of reflection. 2. You feel understood without saying a word. There's something almost sacred about being with someone who can sit in silence and still make you feel heard. The Sigma male carries that gift. He doesn't push. He doesn't demand you open up. Yet somehow, being around him feels like he's reached into parts of you you've never explained to anyone. You don't have to unload your entire story. He just gets it. Not because he's trying, but because he's been there. He's lived through things most people can't even admit to themselves. His presence is calm but never empty. It's full of clarity, like still water that runs deep. There's no pressure around him, no forced small talk, no awkward energy. Just a quiet invitation to be exactly who you are. Being with him feels like you can finally breathe again. That weight you've been carrying, it starts to feel a little lighter, not because he fixed it, but because for the first time someone actually sees you, without judgment and without trying to rescue you. And that's the magic. He doesn't jump in with advice or interrupt with his own story. He just holds space. He sees you not only for who you are now, but also for the stronger version of yourself that you might have forgotten exists. That dual vision, accepting you as you are, while silently challenging you to rise higher, is rare. That's why people feel drawn to him. That's why they don't forget him. Because when someone understands you in silence, when they make you feel seen without you having to perform, it changes you. You carry that moment long after he's gone. 3. His absence feels like a missing compass. There are people whose presence barely registers. And then there are people whose absence you feel. The Sigma male belongs in the second category, but not because he's the loudest or the one constantly directing everyone. Quite the opposite. He doesn't lead with force or control. He leads with calm, with stillness, with steady attention. He listens when others are too busy talking over each other. He notices the things that slip past everyone else. And because of that, when he's around, the entire space subtly shifts. People unconsciously align themselves to the grounded energy he brings. It's not fear. It's not pressure. It's balance. But when he's gone, that balance leaves with him. The room feels unsettled, like a center point has been removed. Suddenly, the tension comes back. The forced laughter feels louder. The little performances people put on become more obvious. It's not chaos, but you can feel the difference. His silence anchored the space. Without it, things drift. Conversations lose depth. The energy turns from grounded to scattered. People might not even be able to put it into words, but they feel it. That absence lingers. Because he doesn't dominate, he stabilizes. And when he's no longer there, everyone realizes just how much he was holding things together simply by being present. 4. People either crave his energy or run from it. With the Sigma male, there is rarely a middle ground. People either gravitate toward him like a magnet or they instinctively distance themselves. His energy doesn't fade quietly into the background. It touches something inside you, even if you can't explain what it is. And it's not charm. It's not social status. It's something deeper. Something that acts like a mirror you didn't ask to look into. His energy doesn't flatter you. It doesn't make you feel instantly comfortable. It reveals. For those who've been wearing masks too long, hiding from their own truth, being around him can feel like too much. He doesn't have to say anything. Just his presence makes it harder to lie to yourself. That level of honesty can feel like exposure. And not everyone is ready for that. But for the ones who are ready, his energy is magnetic. It feels safe, grounding, real, like finally exhaling after holding your breath all day pretending to be someone else. It's refreshing, but also challenging, because he won't let you stay where you are. He doesn't push, but something about him calls you higher. And once you feel it, you want more. That's the cost of true spiritual presence. It's not entertainment. It's not light distraction. It's exposure. It strips away the false and brings you face to face with what's real. Some will stick around, hoping to absorb even a fraction of that peace. Others will flee, unsettled by how much they suddenly feel seen. But one thing is certain, no one walks away unchanged. His energy doesn't just make an impression, it leaves a mark. Number 5. He moves from purpose, not performance. The Sigma male operates with a deep sense of intention. He doesn't act to impress. He's not chasing validation, applause, or approval. Every move he makes stems from something solid inside him. His values, his standards, his personal sense of direction. And that's rare in a world where most people are busy performing for approval they don't even truly want. While others bend and twist themselves to fit expectations, he remains unmoved. He knows what matters to him, and that alone determines his choices. He's not trying to look wise, sound powerful, or come across as successful. He just is. And people feel that. Even if they can't explain it, there's something magnetic about a man who needs nothing from you, yet still offers clarity, presence, and direction. This isn't detachment from life. It's detachment from performance. And that's exactly where his power lies. He's not seeking your energy, your applause, or your validation. He's not loud, but he leaves echoes. You might not remember every person you meet, but you remember him. Not because he made the most noise, but because he made the most sense. Or maybe it was a single sentence, or even silence. A moment that said more than hours of conversation ever could. The Sigma male's presence lingers, like a book you didn't expect to love. You close it, yet it stays with you. It follows you into quiet moments, making you reconsider what you thought you knew. He doesn't chase influence, but without trying, he leaves a lasting one. Number 6. He shows that stillness is a superpower. In a world obsessed with speed, noise, and constant visibility, the Sigma male does the opposite. And ironically, that's exactly what makes him unforgettable. He doesn't need to raise his voice to be heard. He doesn't explain himself just to be understood. He doesn't compete for attention because he's already anchored in who he is. That quiet confidence is his edge. His strength isn't in how much he says or does. It's in the stillness he carries. The kind of stillness that isn't rattled by pressure, opinions, or the chaos swirling around him. He doesn't rush to react. He doesn't scramble to correct how others see him. And that calm, controlled energy makes a deeper impact than any amount of noise ever could. You start to realize the loudest person in the room often lacks real direction. But the one who moves with quiet certainty, that's who people end up watching, not because he's trying to lead, but because his stillness naturally leads. It creates space for truth. It reminds others that you don't have to prove your worth when you already know it. His presence is a walking contradiction to the world's obsession with performance. While everyone else is shouting, he's grounded. While others perform to be seen, he simply exists. And that's what real power looks like. Not chaos, not flash, but clarity, focus, and peace that can't be bought or faked. His stillness doesn't mean passivity. It means he's powerful enough not to be moved by anything less than what's real. Number 7. He's spiritually self-regulating. There's a rare strength in a man who can carry his own storms. The Sigma male doesn't unload his pain on others. He doesn't spill his frustrations onto people who didn't cause them. He doesn't seek pity when life gets heavy. And it does. He doesn't react impulsively. He retreats, not to run away, but to reflect, to get still, to face what's inside before ever speaking it out loud. He understands something most people don't. True emotional control isn't about suppression. It's about processing with precision. He doesn't lash out when he's confused. He doesn't unload in the heat of the moment. Instead, he sits with the mess. He untangles it quietly, on his own terms. And that's why his presence feels so stable. He's not dragging emotional baggage around, expecting others to carry it. He gives himself the space to think clearly, and when he finally does speak, you can tell it comes from insight, not impulse. He's not throwing feelings around just to feel heard. He's offering something thoughtful because he's already sorted through the noise within himself. This level of self-regulation is spiritual. It's not coldness. It's not distance. It's about being responsible with his energy. Most people act first and think later. The Sigma does the opposite. And that's why people trust his words. They know he won't explode or collapse out of nowhere. He's met himself in silence. He's done the work. And you can feel that inner stability the moment he walks into a room. Number 8. He radiates boundaries without saying a word. There's a type of man who doesn't have to announce where his lines are, you simply feel them. That's the Sigma male. He doesn't demand respect. He doesn't broadcast his limits. But something in the way he moves, the way he looks at you, the way he holds space, it sends a message. Tread carefully. Not because he's intimidating, but because his presence makes you aware. Hyper aware. You notice how you speak around him. You think twice before you cross a line. It's not fear he creates. It's awareness. You can sense that he knows exactly who he is and what he will not tolerate. It's not in his tone. It's not in his words. It's in the posture, the eyes, the energy. The energy that says, I don't play power games, but I also won't let you play me. That kind of presence can't be faked. It comes from deep self-respect, from years of holding yourself accountable, from learning when to walk away and when to stand your ground. People don't test him because they can feel the cost of doing so, not in a threatening way, but in a deeply grounded one. Real boundaries don't need to be spoken. They're lived. They radiate outward. And when you're in the presence of a Sigma male, you don't need a warning to know where he stands. You just know. Number 9. He's not impressive. He's impactful. The Sigma male isn't trying to impress you. And that's exactly why you remember him. He's not performing. He's not dressed to convince. He's not reciting achievements to win admiration. If you're looking for flash, you might overlook him at first. But give it time. Long after he's gone, his presence lingers. It could be a single sentence he said, a truth he quietly stood on, or even a moment of silence that cut through the noise. Whatever it is, it stays with you. Being impressive is loud. It's about seeking approval. It's about applause. But impact is subtle. It creeps up on you when you least expect it. It makes you rethink something, not because he told you to, but because the way he lives challenges you without pushing. People chase being impressive because they think it makes them valuable. The Sigma moves differently. He's not here to prove anything. He doesn't need a reaction to validate his identity. And that level of confidence leaves a deeper mark than anything flashy ever could. You might walk away thinking, nothing major happened. But days later, it hits you. A phrase he said won't leave your head. Or maybe he barely spoke at all. But the way he listened made you realize you didn't need your mask for once. That's real impact. It doesn't sparkle. It sinks in. It changes how you see the world, how you see yourself, how you handle your own silence. The Sigma male doesn't care if you're impressed. What matters is that he's true. And in a world obsessed with performance, That kind of authenticity stays with people long after the lights go out. Number 10. He doesn't fight for space. He becomes the space. The Sigma male never walks into a room trying to stake a claim or prove that he belongs. He's not interested in posturing, raising his voice, or outshining anyone. Instead, he simply exists with a quiet certainty that makes everything around him shift. His presence doesn't crowd out others. It doesn't try to dominate or demand. It creates space. Where most people scramble to be seen or heard, he doesn't compete. He doesn't need to. His energy doesn't push. It expands. And that expansion is felt even if you can't quite put it into words. Around him, conversations seem to slow down. People become more aware of themselves, not because he's demanding attention, but because he naturally grounds it. When he enters a room, the entire atmosphere recalibrates. It doesn't happen through noise or dramatic gestures, but through an invisible depth that everyone senses. It's like suddenly realizing the room had been too loud, too chaotic, and now there's space. Space to breathe, space to think, space to just be. He doesn't pull you in with charisma. He invites you in with presence. There's no need for him to prove dominance or control. And that's exactly what makes him so different. While others are fighting their way up ladders or carving out corners to be recognized, he becomes the environment itself. People don't adjust to him out of obligation. They do it naturally, without thinking, because they want to. Something about him makes the world realign. He doesn't try to take space from anyone. He gives it, because he's already whole within himself. That's the kind of energy people never forget. Not because it shouted the loudest, but because it filled the room completely without a single word. Number 11. He's spiritually dangerous to the superficial. There's a reason the Sigma male unsettles certain people, and it's not because he's rude, cold, or arrogant. It's because he doesn't play the game. He doesn't take the bait. He won't be pulled into petty arguments, drama, or the endless performance that so many use to get attention. He simply watches, still and unmoved. And that level of detachment is threatening to those who thrive on chaos and noise. To shallow people, his calm presence feels like distance or superiority. But that's just projection. What they're actually seeing is someone who doesn't need their approval. Someone who doesn't have to engage in pointless back and forth to feel significant. And that kind of energy exposes everything they rely on to feel relevant. He won't roll his eyes. He won't argue. He just disconnects, quietly and completely. And nothing frustrates a person who feeds on drama more than being met with silence and zero reaction. The truth is, his depth makes it impossible for surface-level people to connect with him. Not because he's shutting them out, but because they have nowhere deep enough inside themselves to meet him. His presence acts like a filter. If you're fake, insecure, or constantly performing for approval, you'll feel it immediately. You'll squirm. You'll over-explain. You'll overreact. Not because he said a word, but because he didn't play along. And that's where the real danger lies. His very existence challenges the illusions people build their lives on. He doesn't confront those illusions head-on. He simply outgrows them. By refusing to feed into them, he forces others to see just how much of their world is built on noise. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. And for those stuck on the surface, clarity cuts deep. Number 12. He doesn't need to be heard to be felt. Most people try to get noticed by talking more, by filling the air with carefully chosen words designed to impress. But the Sigma male? He doesn't need any of that. He doesn't speak to be admired. He doesn't talk just to fill silence. His presence communicates long before his mouth opens. There's a quiet intensity about him that says everything without a single word. The way he carries himself, his body language, his stillness, his focus, it all speaks volumes. He's aware. He's fully present. And most importantly, he's not performing. He's not trying to win anyone over. He just shows up as himself, unfiltered, grounded, and complete. And people feel it instantly. Even those who don't normally notice energy pick up on it. They might not understand why, but they find themselves more alert, more aware of themselves when he's around. It's not because he's demanding attention. It's because his presence sharpens the space. And when he does speak, every word counts. There's no fluff, no need to outshine or dominate. Just truth. Even when he's silent, his silence isn't empty. It's full of intention, of listening, of understanding. More than most people ever realize. That's what sets him apart. He doesn't speak to validate himself. He doesn't crave the spotlight. His confidence isn't loud, it's lived. And because of that, people walk away from him with a feeling they can't quite name. A sense that they were in the presence of someone who is fully awake, fully alive. He doesn't need to be heard to be felt. Simply being there is enough to shift the entire room. Real power doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't have to be loud or flashy. It simply is. The Sigma male doesn't chase attention. He doesn't need a label to explain who he is. He doesn't have to shout his purpose into the world, because his presence alone speaks louder than most people's words ever will. When he walks into a room, you feel it. A subtle shift, a pause, a sense that someone truly sees you without judgment. That's not mystery, it's mastery. And mastery like this isn't about pretending to be strong. It's about confronting your own reflection in silence, choosing peace over performance, building a foundation so deep that you no longer need anyone's validation to stand tall. If this sounds like you, never doubt it. Never dilute it. You weren't built for noise. You were built for depth. You're not here to compete for space. You are the space. You're not meant to match the world's chaos. You bring calm to it. You don't need anyone's approval because your worth has never been up for debate. That's what sets you apart. That's where your true strength comes from. While the world scrambles for likes, titles, and the spotlight, you focus on something bigger: truth, presence, protecting your spirit in a world that would trade it for cheap applause. So keep moving with purpose. Keep observing without reacting. Speak only when your words matter. That's not weakness. That's precision. Because being a Sigma male isn't about image or trend. It's about alignment. The more you hold that line, the louder your silence will echo over the noise. You don't just take up space. You change the space around you. And that's your greatest strength. If this message hit home, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Epic Persona. This channel is built for men like you, men who refuse to follow the crowd because they were never meant to. And here's a question for you. What's one thing you do in silence that makes you stronger every single day?